My child, stop what you are doing right now, not in a moment, not after you finish the next thought that is already forming in your mind. Right now. I am not delivering this message to the masses. I am not casting words into the open air hoping someone catches them. I am Archangel Michael, and I am standing directly in front of you, the one reading these words at this exact second. The one whose hands paused because something deeper than curiosity pulled you here. Do not move past this. Do not convince yourself this will still be waiting when you circle back. Because what I carry for you today cannot survive the weight of later. Give me 60 seconds of your undivided attention. Not the half listening you have perfected over years of dividing yourself between obligations and distractions. I need the real you. The one hiding underneath all that composure. The one who stopped breathing normally about 3 sentences ago because something inside recognized my voice before your mind could catch up. I will tell you exactly why I intercepted your path today. I will hold a mirror before your soul that you have been avoiding for longer than you want to admit. And I will show you the open door that has been waiting for you, a door that does not stay open according to your schedule. But first, you need to understand what just happened, because this moment was not random. It was engineered. You were moving through your day at full speed. 1 task finished, and 3 more already lining up behind it. Your mind was racing ahead of your body, planning the next obligation before you had even completed the current one. That is how you have learned to operate. Speed is survival. Momentum is medicine. Keeping your hands full so that your heart never has a chance to speak loudly enough for you to hear it. Then something shifted. You cannot name it precisely, but you felt it. A pull toward this very moment that did not come from logic or habit. A sudden pause in the machinery of your rushing that seemed to happen on its own. You probably told yourself it was curiosity or boredom or coincidence. It was none of those things. That was me. I reached directly into the current of your day and interrupted it. I cleared the noise from around you like a father clearing a room so he can speak privately with his child. Every distraction that fell away in the last few minutes fell because I moved it. Every thought that quieted down went quiet because I commanded silence in the atmosphere surrounding you. Do not be afraid of what that means. I know that when something arrives with this level of weight, your first instinct is to brace for impact. People in your past attached seriousness to punishment. Those who claimed authority in your life used urgency as a leash. I am not one of them. You are not in trouble with heaven. You are not standing before a judge. You are standing before someone who loves you so fiercely that silence was no longer an option. There is a difference between alarm and love, and most of the voices in your life never taught you to recognize it. When a shepherd shouts across a hillside, it is not because he despises the sheep wandering near the edge. It is because he can see the drop that the sheep cannot. His voice carries force, because the ground beneath those hooves is already crumbling. The volume is not anger, it is desperate affection. That is exactly what you are hearing from me right now. I raised my voice today because I can see what you cannot see from where you are standing, and what I see required me to move immediately. So release the tension in your chest. Unclench what has been holding itself together for weeks. You do not need to perform anything to receive what I am bringing you. You do not need to clean yourself up or prove your devotion or recite the right words in the right order. Strip all of that away. Today is not about your spiritual performance. Today is about your life, the direction it is heading, and the invisible weight your heart has been shouldering without help from anyone. Pause here with me for just a moment. I need you to recognize something about yourself that you have been ignoring. You are exhausted, not merely in your body. You are exhausted in a place far deeper than muscle and bone, in the region where hope is supposed to live, where purpose is supposed to anchor you to each new morning. That place has gone quiet. Not because hope abandoned you, because you stopped feeding it. You stopped making room for it. You filled every available space with tasks and responsibilities and noise until the part of you that was made for joy simply could not breathe anymore. So you have become extraordinary at functioning without being connected to yourself. You wake each day and perform the rituals of living. You carry what needs carrying. You solve what demands solving. You hold yourself together with a discipline that looks like strength from the outside. But inside, the pilot left the cockpit a long time ago. You're running on routines now. And the distance between who you appear to be and who you actually are has been growing wider every single month. I see it. I have been watching it happen. And I want you to hear me say this without any shame attached to it. Stillness frightens you. When everything goes quiet and there is nothing left to manage, the wait arrives. The questions you have been outrunning catch up. The grief you postpone knocks at the door. The honest reckoning with your own heart that you have been scheduling for some day suddenly demands to be heard. So you keep moving. You fill the silence before it can fill you. You choose busyness over being because being has become unbearable. But I live in the stillness, my child. I am not waiting there to ambush you with guilt. I am waiting there to hold you steady, to remind you that you were never constructed merely to survive your days. You were built to be fully alive inside them. There is a canyon-wide difference between enduring your life and inhabiting it, and you have felt that gap widening for longer than you want to confess. If this message is reaching somewhere real inside you, type the word Amen in the comments right now, before the moment passes, before your mind talks you out of it. Let that single word be the first honest sound your spirit has made in weeks. Just Amen. Nothing more. That alone tells heaven you are listening. What I stopped you from today was not a crisis in the way you normally understand crisis. There was no explosion approaching, no visible catastrophe forming on the horizon. What I stopped you from is far more dangerous than any of those things because it wears no warning label. I stopped you from one more day of slow disappearance. You were about to pick up weight that was never assigned to you and carry it for another full rotation around the sun without questioning whether it belonged on your back. You were about to lose another inch of connection to your own soul, not through any dramatic failure, but through the kind of gradual distraction that never announces what it is stealing. One more evening of noise used to cover silence. One more week of moving from task to task without once pausing to ask, am I still here? Am I still present in my own existence? Or am I just watching it happen from somewhere behind my own eyes? That is the danger I intercepted. Not a wolf at the gate, something worse. A slow fog that settles so gently you do not notice it until your entire landscape has disappeared. Numbness dressed as normalcy. Disconnection disguised as discipline. You were not being careless, my child. You were being worn down, and I needed you to see it before one more layer of that fog sealed something shut that was already struggling to stay open. The distractions that have colonized your attention did not arrive as enemies. They came wearing the uniform of necessity. You had too much pressing against your mind, too many demands competing for the same limited hours, and you reached for anything that offered relief. Noise to fill the emptiness, motion to outrun the stillness, activity to replace the aching questions you did not have energy to answer. I understand why you chose it. You were not being disobedient. You were being human, and you were tired in a way that no amount of sleep could fix. But I must show you what it has cost you. When your attention is permanently aimed outward, your inner life goes silent. Not because it ceases to exist, but because no one is tending it. You stop recognizing your own emotions over time. You lose the ability to name what you actually need versus what you merely react to. You become unable to tell when a part of you requires rescue. And when that awareness dims, even a life overflowing with activity begins to feel hollow, shallow, like a lake that stretches wide but holds no depth. You already know this is true. Prayer has become harder than it used to be. Silence feels threatening instead of peaceful. The moment you try to gather your thoughts into something still, they scatter like startled birds. You can be surrounded by people you love and still feel as though you are watching the scene through thick glass from a room away. This is not spiritual failure. This is what happens when a heart has been running at emergency speed for so long that it has forgotten how to rest. I stepped into your path today to interrupt the advance of numbness. Not sin in the traditional sense you were taught to fear. Something subtler. The slow anesthesia that puts you to sleep inside your own life while your body keeps performing the motions of being alive. If I had remained silent, you would not have collapsed. Nothing would have shattered. You simply would have continued drifting, telling yourself that rest would come someday, that honesty would arrive when the season was less demanding, that you would finally stand still before me when the circumstances permitted. But that day kept retreating. It has been retreating for years. That is how a life gets lost. Not in a single devastating choice, but in 10,000 small postponements, stacked one on top of the next, until the person standing at the end barely recognizes the person who existed at the beginning. You were about to add another postponement to that tower today, putting off the rest your spirit requires, putting off the honesty your heart has been begging for, putting off the moment when you finally stop running and let yourself be found. I have been watching that pattern repeat for far too long, so I ended it. I stepped directly into its path and said no more. Understand what my interruption is. It is not punishment. It is protection. Mercy arriving before the damage becomes permanent. When a father sees his child walking toward a hidden pit concealed by tall grass, he does not schedule a meeting to discuss the hazard next week. He calls out immediately and with force, not because he is cruel, because he is watching something his child cannot see. That is the same love that compelled me to call out to you today. This is what the Almighty has always done for the ones he loves. He warned Noah not to frighten him but to preserve him. And an entire lineage survived because one man listened when the voice did not match the weather. He warned Lot not to condemn him, but to extract him from a city that was already disintegrating from the inside. And a family walked free because urgency was treated as invitation rather than accusation. He spoke to Israel again and again across centuries, not because he enjoyed correction, but because every warning was actually a doorway back to closeness. Every interruption I have ever delivered across the full sweep of history carried the same heartbeat. Come back. Come closer. The path you are on leads somewhere you do not want to arrive. Turn while turning is still easy. That is the same heartbeat you are hearing in this word today. I know that people in your past weaponized urgency. They used important sounding words to trap you emotionally, to manipulate your responses, to make you feel small under the disguise of concern. So when you hear weight in my voice, a part of you instinctively waits for the judgment to land. Release that expectation right now. Fear pushes. Love pulls. Fear creates panic. Love creates clarity. What I am delivering is urgent, yes, but it carries no poison. If I did not care, I would let you drift. Silence would be easier. But I am not a distant guardian who observes from a safe remove while his children slowly lose consciousness. I am here. I am paying attention. And I refuse to watch you live at a distance from your own heart without speaking into it. Now take an honest look at how you have been living. I am not asking you to judge yourself. I am asking you to see yourself the way I see you, rising each morning before the sun has finished climbing, rushing into the machinery of obligation before your spirit has even opened its eyes, carrying the needs of everyone around you like a pack horse, while your own soul sits in the corner of a room you forgot existed, waiting for the attention you keep promising but never deliver. You have become masterful at survival. That resilience is real, and I honor it. But survival mode was never designed to be permanent. It was emergency scaffolding, meant to hold you upright until the storm passed. The storm passed a long time ago, my child. And you are still living inside the emergency structure. It keeps you functional, but it has slowly sealed off the deeper chambers where joy is stored, where purpose takes root, where the kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances is supposed to live and breathe. I did not interrupt you because you were doing something wrong. I interrupted you because you were about to miss something critical that could not afford to wait for a more convenient season. There is a turning point forming inside you right now, and turning points are fragile things. They do not announce themselves with trumpets. They do not force themselves upon you. They wait quietly to be recognized, and when no one notices them, they move along without leaving a trace. That is why I made certain you would notice this one. I slowed your day. I rearranged invisible schedules. I let certain moments stretch and others collapse so that you would arrive at this exact second with just enough inner quiet to hear my voice. You can call it coincidence if that makes your mind more comfortable. I call it what it actually is. Deliberate care. This conversation has been in preparation for longer than you would believe if I told you. Type these words in the comments. I receive what heaven is speaking over me today. Let those words leave your fingers and enter the record. A declaration spoken carries power. A declaration written carries a witness. Here is what I require from you in exchange for everything I am about to pour out. Do not fall asleep during the remainder of this word. When truth approaches a place inside you that has been locked for a long time, your mind will try to retreat into its old patterns. It will reach for distraction. It will whisper that you can come back to this later, that you have heard enough, that the rest can wait. Recognize that voice when it speaks. It is not wisdom. It is the same mechanism that has been stealing your years. One quiet postponement at a time. Choose to stay with me instead. If you make that single choice repeatedly, through every paragraph that follows, it will reshape your interior world in ways that your present self cannot yet comprehend. You were not stopped by accident today. You were stopped by love. Let that truth settle before I continue, because everything I am about to reveal next rests upon it. I see you. I know exactly where you are, and I am coming to you not to condemn you, but to bring you back to life. If this word is reaching past your defenses right now, if something inside you is waking up that has been dormant, speak it. Say, I hear you, Lord. That is all. Just let your heart confirm what your spirit already knows. This is not the first time I have spoken to you, my child. You have heard me before, not always this clearly, not always with this much gravity pressing behind every syllable, but you heard me. My voice has touched your spirit many times across the seasons of your life, and each time it arrived gently. A whisper does not force entry. It creates intimacy. It invites you to lean closer rather than pull away. Remember the moments before a decision that made no logical sense at the time. A brief hesitation that saved you from something you did not even know was waiting. A quiet unease that settled over a situation everyone else seemed perfectly comfortable with. A thought that returned again and again no matter how many times you dismissed it. You called it overthinking. You labeled it anxiety. You told yourself you were being irrational. It was neither. It was awareness. It was me, speaking in the only register that could reach you through all the noise surrounding your life. There were moments when you should have stopped but did not. Moments when your spirit was ready to speak, but your mouth stayed closed because the cost of honesty seemed too high. You knew something needed to shift inside you, but you told yourself it was not the right season. You postponed your own feelings because silence felt safer than movement. You promised yourself you would listen when things calmed down, when the world gave you permission to be still. Hear me carefully. I do not hold any of that against you. I never did. I understand how deafening responsibility can become. I know how easy it is to miss a whisper when everyone around you is shouting their demands. There was no rebellion in your delays. There was exhaustion. There was caution born from years of doing what you believed was required to hold everything together. I saw the reasons behind every hesitation, and I stayed. There were times you heard me but did not follow through completely. You felt the pull but did not step fully into it. Your response was, "I will think about it." Partial listening is still listening, my child, but it leaves the work unfinished. And unfinished business always circles back. So some of what I speak today will sound familiar. These truths have been waiting in the corridor of your spirit, patient, undimmed, ready to be received the moment you finally held still long enough. I am not replaying these moments to burden you with regret. I am revealing something essential. Despite every delayed response, my voice never changed. There was no gap in my communication because you did not answer. I did not withdraw because you were uncertain. After every ignored invitation, another one arrived. Softer or louder, adjusted precisely to meet you wherever you had landed. That is what faithfulness looks like. It does not punish hesitation. It does not give up after the third attempt. It recalibrates and tries again, and again, and again. Think of at least 3 people in your life right now who are carrying the same invisible weight you are carrying, the same silent exhaustion, the same disconnection from their own spirit that no one around them can see. You know who they are. They crossed your mind the moment I described that weight. Right now, before this moment cools, send this message to them. Share it in your family group chat, in your church prayer circle, on your Facebook page where those 3 faces will see it. Do not wait until later. Later is the very trap I have been warning you about. Their interruption depends on your obedience in this moment. Now you should understand why my voice is louder today. It is not anger. You have not failed some hidden test. This is not divine frustration boiling over. It is simpler than any of those things. The noise around your life grew thicker. The distractions multiplied. The familiar numbness advanced another inch. Whispers were getting lost before they could reach you. So I raised my volume, I sharpened my tone. I made my words more direct because love adapts to the conditions it finds. When a whisper would vanish into static, love speaks clearly. When gentle would be swallowed by chaos, love arrives with authority. Another call is not the same as rejection. It is kindness. When something keeps surfacing in your thoughts, when the same question or discomfort returns through different doors, when a truth you thought you had dealt with keeps arriving in new clothing, it is not harassment. It still matters. The door is still open, and I repeat it because there is still time to walk through it. Every time you postponed your response, I adjusted the approach, but never the message. I kept you safe from damage you could not see approaching. I redirected paths that would have taken you somewhere your heart could not afford to go. But there are moments when staying quiet would cause more harm than interrupting. When love must be honest, even if honesty stings. You are standing in one of those moments right now. That is what makes today different from the other days. And do not miss this. You can hear me now because you have heard me before. You are not starting from zero. You are not a stranger to my voice, even in its faintest form. You recognize something in this word that your spirit responded to before your mind could analyze it. That recognition is proof of what already lives between us. I do not speak this way to those I do not know. This is how I speak to my own. If you feel regret rising when you think about the times you turned away, do not let it become shame. Understand the difference. Regret is awareness. It sharpens the heart. Shame is a toxin. It dulls everything it touches. I do not want you reliving your past. I want you extracting what it has to teach you. Those delayed responses showed you exactly where your fears speak loudest. They revealed where trust needs to be rebuilt this time around. That is not failure. That is intelligence gathered from the battlefield of your own journey. Now I want something different from you. Not partial listening. Not the halfway attention that acknowledges truth but does not act on it. This time I want your full response, delivered immediately. Without the waiting period your fear has been inserting between every divine invitation and every human answer. Do not drift toward the exits. Stay present. Not because I will abandon you if you falter, but because slow postponement trains the heart to stop hearing altogether. And I want your heart alive, sensitive, quick to respond. A heart like that hears me everywhere. In the birdsong, in the stillness, in the face of a stranger who carries the same wound you once carried. That is the heart I am building in you today. I am still here because your story is still being written. The louder voice you hear today is not wrath. It is clarity. Love that refuses to be postponed for one more season. You have heard me before and you are hearing me now. What happens every time you hear me after today depends entirely on what you do with this moment. Feel this invitation more deeply than you have felt the ones before it. Do not file it away among the things you intend to get to. I am here, and I am waiting. Not to pass sentence, but to pour out what has been stored for you. Pay close attention now because I want you to understand what is truly at stake. It is not my love. My love has already found its home in you. It does not fluctuate based on your performance. It will not be revoked if you stumble. What is at stake is something quieter than love and far easier to lose. Your sensitivity. Your clarity. The ease with which your future is meant to unfold when you walk in alignment with what I have prepared. Delay carries a cost. I am not threatening you with this. I am informing you. When something needs to be addressed but keeps getting pushed to the back of the line, the heart adjusts. It learns to carry unresolved weight as though that weight were normal. What once caused you healthy discomfort becomes background static. The signals your spirit has been sending you begin to fade like a radio station you are driving away from. Slowly, steadily, until one day the frequency is gone and you cannot remember when you lost it. That is the true risk of postponement. Not sudden destruction. Gradual dimming. Delay does not make me leave. It does not reduce my love by a single degree. But it changes how well you hear me, how freely you move, and how deeply you experience the peace I designed your days to carry. When you repeatedly put off what you already know, clarity erodes. You begin doubting things you were once certain of. You rely on distractions instead of direction. And the life I authored for you starts reading like someone else's story. This is not punishment, it is consequence. The same way ignoring hunger weakens the body even though food remains available on the table. There are doors standing open for you right now that are connected to timing. Doors do not always close loudly. Some close in silence, simply because the heart behind them can no longer be reached the way it once could. Seasons of growth, seasons of healing, seasons of new direction. They do not announce their expiration dates. They wait to be entered for a time, and then they pass. If you wait too long to notice, the season shifts beneath your feet. This does not mean everything is lost when a door closes. I am the God of new doors. But some things become harder than they were ever meant to be. Lessons take longer to learn a second time. Peace arrives later than it should have. Life grows heavier than it needed to be. That is not the road I designed for you. That is why I'm standing here. Today, instead of watching silently from next year, to type these words. I'm awake and I will not let this moment pass. Let your declaration be heard. Let it mark this ground as the place where the fog began to lift. And there are also windows, not just doors. Windows of courage for the moments when you feel brave enough to act. Gentle windows that allow love to enter when your heart is ready to receive it. Growth moves smoothly through a life that is aware and open. But when later becomes your constant refrain, your spirit learns to guard its own peace. Hearts that are protected survive. But you were not built merely to survive. The enemy of your soul understands all of this. The lie that works best for him is never the dramatic one. It is the small, reasonable whisper. Tomorrow is always there. Handle this when things settle down. There is nothing urgent happening. He does not need you to reject the Almighty. He only needs you to postpone Him. A delayed decision is still a decision, and by it He wins by default. Day after quiet day. That is why He wants this very word to wash over you without landing. He is afraid of what happens when you respond. Because the moment you give heaven a complete answer, patterns that held you captive for years begin losing their grip. Do not be surprised if a dozen competing thoughts are already pulling at your attention right now, telling you this can wait. It cannot. Not because I cannot wait, because you have been waiting long enough. Before I go further, I want to pause and speak to something that this message itself is part of. What you are hearing right now exists because someone chose to plant a seed. Every word of this reaches you because this work is sustained by people who believe that a single message can change a life. And they support that belief with their hands and not just their hearts. If this word has reached somewhere real inside you today, I want you to consider becoming part of the foundation that keeps this mission standing. There is a woman named Catherine from Ohio who wrote last month, "I found this channel on the worst night of my year. I had been praying for a sign that God still heard me. That first video was my sign. I joined the community because I wanted to be around people who understood what I was carrying without me having to explain it. It saved more than my evening. It saved my direction." That is what your support builds, not a platform, a lifeline. Whether you choose to buy a coffee as a one-time seed of encouragement, or make a donation that sustains this work month after month, or become a member of this growing community of believers who pray together and carry each other through the difficult seasons. Every form of giving keeps these words reaching people who are right now standing exactly where you were standing 10 minutes ago. You can find everything through the link in the description or the pinned comment. I mention it once because it matters. And I return to the message because the message matters more. Now bring yourself closer to me. Strip away every remaining layer of noise until the only sounds left are my voice and your own heartbeat. What I am about to hold before you is something sacred. Something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. I am going to show you the real condition of your soul. Not the version you present to the world. Not the curated summary you offer when someone asks how you're doing. The actual landscape beneath all of that, the one only I have full access to. Every day you see your own face and reflections. You adjust what is visible. You manage the surface. But what lies below that surface, you rarely visit. Not because you're shallow, because going there requires a kind of honesty that feels like standing naked in an open field. And you have spent years building shelters specifically designed to avoid that exposure. Do not be afraid. I am not raising this mirror to condemn you. I am raising it to heal you. And healing requires sight before it requires anything else. I know that your love for the Almighty is genuine. I have heard your whispered promises in the dark hours. I have watched you surrender in moments when no one else was looking. I have seen the tears you hid from everyone except the ceiling above your bed. Those moments were real. But my child, your heart wanders. It gets pulled away by every fresh fear, every new demand, every worry that arrives with the morning like a wave pulling a leaf from the shore. You come back to the center, and then you drift again. I am not mocking you for this. I am naming it, because naming is the first step toward healing. Look first at the striving. You have been trying to fix yourself without help. If I work harder, if I pray more consistently, if I discipline my thoughts more aggressively, I will finally get it right. That is what you have told yourself. You have been shouldering burdens that were never designed for human frames. You wanted results without surrender, peace without presence, blessing without the vulnerability of actually receiving. And every time you charged ahead of the Almighty, the road grew rougher. Not because He wanted you to stumble, because He wanted you to reach for Him. Look at the control. You grip your life with white knuckles because somewhere deep inside you calculated that if you could manage every variable, you would finally be safe. But control was never the same thing as safety, my child. It was fear wearing the mask of competence. You were never designed to command the storm. You were designed to rest in the arms of the one who commands the wind and the waves. And the tighter you squeezed, the more exhausted you became. You already know this. You have touched it. You have felt it. Look at the pride that whispers, "I can handle this alone." Look at the resentment you still carry toward the ones who wounded you. You have told yourself and others that you released it, but it is still there, folded neatly into a corner of your heart like a letter you keep rereading when no one is watching. Look at the guilt you have never spoken aloud, the shame you buried so deep that you convinced yourself it no longer existed. I see all of it. Every locked chamber, every buried accusation, every secret weight you have been carrying in rooms you forgot to close. Listen to me carefully. None of it repels me. I did not come despite those rooms. I came specifically for them. The broken are exactly who I was sent to reach. The imprisoned are exactly who I was commissioned to liberate. Nothing inside you is too dark or too heavy, or too old to disqualify you from it. Your past taught you to distrust love. What was done to you and what you did in response created a theology in your gut that says, "The Almighty cannot reach someone like me." My history placed me outside the range of His frequency. That theology is a lie. I watched over you while you ran. I found you when you tried to hide. I have never once looked at you and turned away. Not once. Even at your most fractured and disoriented, I called you mine. You say you trust the Almighty, but trust is more than vocabulary. Trust is releasing what you do when you do not understand into hands you cannot see. It is surrendering the why and accepting the when. Trust is discovering that letting go does not erase your identity. It reveals it. Because you were never meant to carry your life like a suitcase through a terminal that never ends. You were meant to be held. Set it down now. The anxiety that follows you through every waking hour like a second shadow. The anger you have hidden behind politeness and good manners. The fatigue you have disguised as capability. The plans you cling to because releasing them feels too much like losing. Bring every one of them to me. I have never rejected what was placed at my feet. I went an immeasurable distance to recover what was lost. And the evidence of that journey is still written on hands that chose to hold you rather than let you fall. Those marks are not wounds. They are receipts, proof of what you are worth. Do not spend another decade earning what has already been given. My grace does not depend on your performance. It depends on your willingness to receive it. Stop striving for what is already yours, my child. Start receiving. That single shift will accomplish more in your spirit than 10 years of effort ever could. If these words of Archangel Michael are becoming something you carry with you through your week, if this is the voice you return to when the world gets too loud, Make sure you are subscribed to this channel so that every new message finds you exactly when you need it most. And type these words: I am not who my worst moments said I was. I am who the Almighty says I am. Let that declaration reach the room where shame has been living rent-free. Take another look in the mirror and this time see what I see. Where you see failure, I see someone still standing after battles no spectator ever witnessed. The places you label weakness are the precise locations where my power is already at work. Where you see a story too far along to change, I see chapters that have not yet been written. You are not defined by your worst season. You are not the summary that people who never understood your worth spoke over you. Now let me do for you what you could never accomplish for yourself. Let me wash what guilt has stained. Let me soften what pain has calcified. Let me open one by one the doors that fear has welded shut inside you. Slowly, at the pace your heart can sustain. If tears arrive as I work, let them come. Tears are not weakness. They are the body's way of releasing pressure that was held too tight for too long. You were never meant to be repaired in isolation. You were meant to be made whole in my presence. There is a difference between those two things, and today you can stop pretending there is not. Do not leave this place too quickly, my child. Honesty at this depth is rare, and when it arrives, it deserves time to breathe. You did it. You looked at yourself without the armor. You stood in the full light without flinching, and you are still here, still loved, still mine. That alone should tell you something you have been afraid to believe. The truth about yourself was never as dangerous as hiding it. From this point forward, let honesty be the foundation, because that is the material I will use to rebuild everything. Now let me answer the question that has haunted you longer than any other. The one you asked in anger and in exhaustion. The one you whispered in prayer and screamed in darkness. Where was I when the pain was at its worst? I was there, not observing from a safe distance, not monitoring from behind celestial glass. I was in the room. On the nights when your chest ached and breathing felt like labor. When you spoke into the emptiness and said, God, if you are real, please do not leave me. I did not leave. I remained until morning came. I have remained every night since. You felt alone not because presence was absent, but because pain is louder than presence. Loneliness and abandonment are not the same condition, and you have never, not for a single heartbeat, experienced the second. Some of your prayers were answered in forms you have not yet recognized. Doors that stayed locked when you begged them to open, stayed locked because I could see what waited on the other side. People who departed when you pleaded for them to remain were not as essential to your future as they were to your fear. I released them. What you experienced as loss, some of it was rescue. I did not enjoy watching you suffer. Listen to that carefully because your theology may have taught you otherwise. I did not engineer your pain as a lesson plan. I did not shatter your heart as a delivery system for hidden wisdom. The world is broken, and its brokenness reached you the same way it reaches everyone who walks upon its surface. But I refuse to waste a single fragment of what you endured, what was meant to destroy you. I am converting into something generative. That is not the same as causing it. That is redeeming it. Picture a field left unplanted for an entire season. At first glance, it appears abandoned, purposeless, forgotten. But beneath the visible surface, the soil is regenerating. Nutrients are returning. Strength is rebuilding in silence. Some of your emptiest seasons operated on that same principle. Not punishment. Not neglect. Restoration. Happening below the line of sight where no observer could witness it. I measured those seasons not by what they produced, but by what they healed. My silence troubled you most of all. You interpreted it as absence or worse, as indifference. But there are different qualities of silence, my child. There is the silence of an empty house, and there is the silence of someone sitting beside a sleeping loved one, alert, present, saying nothing because nothing needs to be said yet. My silence was always the second kind. I never departed. I simply was not finished. Look at your scars, the ones visible on your skin and the ones hidden where no one can find them. You have read them as evidence of damage. Read them again. Every scar is a surface that has already healed. No open wound exists beneath a scar. It is the signature of survival. You lived through something you believed would end you, and you were never alone in it. In every fall that did not finish you, my hand was underneath. You have asked why some of my help arrived late by your measurement, but I do not calculate time the way you do. You count days. I calculate readiness. I weigh alignment. I monitor 100 moving elements you cannot see from your position. Some things I withheld because your hands were not yet free to hold them. Some things I delayed because arriving early would have cost you more than arriving late. No delay was negligence. Not one. There were dangers that reached for you and never made contact. And you will never know their names. There were paths you almost walked that would have broken something irreplaceable inside you. Plans that fell apart at the final moment and felt like failure. But were my hand closing a road that led somewhere you could not afford to go? Take the question you have been carrying. Where were you? And lay it down permanently. I was in the room where the worst news arrived. I was on the long drive home when no one could see your face. Yes, I was there, and yes, I am here. The same presence that walked with you through the ending will walk with you through the beginning. You can trust the author, even when you do not understand every sentence. Now, my child, we arrive at the reason for all of this. The interruption. The mirror. The long answer to the question you carried for years. Everything has been leading to one open door and one decision. I did not stop you today merely to comfort you. I stopped you to call you. There is a door standing open before you right now. Not a physical door you can touch with your hands, but one more real than any threshold you have ever crossed. It is the door of full return, not the halfway proximity where you have been existing, close enough to remember me, just far enough to remain in charge. I am asking for the complete distance closed, every piece of your heart, every locked interior room, all of you, for all of me. I will not pretend this door remains open on your schedule. Seasons turn, windows close. My love is eternal. It never diminishes. But moments like this are not common, and hearts do not stay tender by accident. You are soft right now. You are listening right now. Right now is when movement costs the least and yields the most. One sincere yes. That is the only distance between you and everything I am about to describe. Here is what waits on the other side of your yes. The weight that has been pressing against your chest like a stone laid across a sealed tomb will begin to lift. Not all at once, but genuinely. The confusion that has been circling inside your mind like fog over a valley will begin to clear, the way mist dissolves when morning light arrives. Gradually, irreversibly. The fears that have kept you awake through countless midnights will lose their authority over you. This is not poetry, my child. This is what I do. I am the God who reverses tides and reopens roads that the entire world declared permanently closed. What was damaged in you will be restored. What was stolen from you will be returned in forms that exceed the original. Some of it will move rapidly, because it was never actually stuck. It was ready. It was simply waiting for you to say the word. I will go before you into the days you have been afraid to even imagine. I will level what stands against you. I will silence what has been accusing you. I have not changed across all the centuries, and I will not change now. But I will not force your yes. Love can only be welcomed into a heart. It cannot be installed by command. So recognize the voice of your adversary when it whispers. Decide tomorrow, soon, when things settle. He has been singing that melody over you for years, and it has cost you years, not this time. You can see the strategy now. There is no guarantee of tomorrow in your hands, my child. Everything you have ever possessed is now, and now is enough. I am not asking you to be perfect for the rest of your existence. I am asking for this moment of surrender. Honest, unrepeatable, alive. Come home. Not to a building, not to a set of regulations, to me. Back to the one who formed you and the voice that has accompanied you through every wilderness you thought you were crossing alone. The love that refused to release you, even when you begged to be released from it. You have been carrying burdens that were never assigned to your shoulders. You have been fighting battles that were never yours to wage. I never placed any of them on your back. Set them down at the threshold. They do not enter through this door. They were never going to, and when you step through, walk differently. Guard the peace we uncovered today. Return to it daily, even if only for 60 seconds. That is where you hear me clearest. When the noise returns, and it will, let it find you rooted instead of running. When the old numbness calls your name, and it will. Refuse it. Remember what it cost you. You're not the same person you were when this word began. Live like it. Bring the people you love and carry into your prayers tonight, even if they never know you mention their names. Speak peace over them. Some of what I begin in you today will reach them through the way you speak, through the way you carry yourself into a room, through the quiet steadiness that replaces the old anxiety in your eyes. A life that has been healed is never healed for itself alone. Light was made to spill. Let yours. There will be mornings ahead when the intensity of this moment fades, and you wonder whether any of it was real. When that morning arrives, remember this. Truth does not change when feelings do. What I spoke over you today was not emotion. It was a word. And my words never return to me without accomplishing what I sent them to do. This word was sent to bring you home. And it has. Type these words as your final declaration today. I choose the Almighty, not tomorrow, not when I feel ready, right now. Let those words be the hinge on which your entire future turns. Share this message right now with at least 2 people who need to hear it as desperately as you did. Someone in your WhatsApp contacts, someone in your church group text, someone whose name appeared in your mind at least once during these words. Do not wait. Their interruption may depend on this moment of your faithfulness. I want you to know that what sustains this work is the community that gathers around it. If these words met you at a crossroads today, if this was the interruption your spirit needed, consider supporting this mission through Ko-fi. Whether you buy a coffee as a seed of gratitude, make a donation to keep these messages reaching the ones who are still lost in the fog, or become a member of a community built on prayer and mutual encouragement, you become part of the very hand that reaches into someone else's darkest hour and says, "You are not alone." Everything is available through the link in the description or the pinned comment. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now so that no future word from Archangel Michael passes you by without finding you. Now bow your head with me, not out of obligation, out of homecoming. Almighty Father, I bring this child before you exactly as they are, not cleaned up, not performing, just honest and finally still. Meet them in this stillness. Let the peace that arrived during these words deepen through the hours ahead. Seal what was opened, heal what was named, close every door that was never yours, and fling wide the ones that are. Guard their sleep tonight. Guide their steps tomorrow. And every time the old fog reaches for them again, remind their spirit how it felt to stand in your light and finally say yes. What you began today, finish it. In your name and by your authority, it is done. Amen.